Travis Palmer had exactly $10 left in his wallet, a 5-year-old boy asleep on his back, and a camera he hadn't used in 2 years slung over his chest when he took the photo that would change everything. The sky was on fire orange, gold, violet. He crouched low in the sand, adjusting the lens out of habit. His son Jasper let out a soft sigh against his shoulder, arms wrapped loosely around his neck. Just a few more shots, then they'd walk back to the car. Hopefully, it still started, and then he saw her. She stood at the edge of the water, her bare feet half buried in the sand, the wind pulling strands of dark hair across her face. She wasn't posing, she didn't even notice him. She was just there, still, beautiful, alone. The light hit her like it knew she belonged in it. Click, he didn't think. Didn't ask. It happened in a second. One perfect shot, she turned, eyes catching his like she knew he'd done it, and instead of getting angry, she smiled. "Did you just take my picture?" Travis stood up, awkwardly shifting Jasper's weight. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." "I mean I did, but not in a creepy way." She let out a soft laugh, stepping closer. "Can I see it?" He hesitated. Most people didn't ask, they just glared, but she was calm, curious, her voice was smooth, like she was used to being listened to. He showed her the screen, her breath caught. "Wow. That's actually really good. I used to do this for a living," he said, then immediately regretted it. "I mean, I'm not trying to sell it to you or anything. You just looked like the sunset belonged to you." She blinked, surprised, then smiled. "That's probably the nicest thing anyone's said to me in a year." Her eyes dropped to Jasper. "He's out cold." "Yeah," Travis said. "Long day." He had a meltdown in Target over dinosaur socks. Her lips twitched. "I get it, I've had days like that too. Over socks, worse." She grinned. "Meetings?" There was something about her that didn't match the beach. Her dress was simple, but the fabric looked expensive. Her watch probably cost more than his car, but she wasn't flaunting it. She was just, "Here, I'm Travis," he said. "This is Jasper." She hesitated for a second. "Penelope?" Then after a beat, Penelope Sutton. The name sounded familiar. He couldn't place it, not then. She glanced back at the water. "Do you ever sell your photos?" "Not in a long time." "You should," she said. "You've got an eye." He shrugged. "Hard to pay rent with compliments." She looked at him for a long moment. "Send me that photo, I want to buy it." He blinked. "You don't have to, I want to," she said firmly. "Name your price." Travis laughed. "Honestly, I'd settle for a burger and gas money." Penelope smiled and pulled a business card from her bag. "Email it to me, I'll take care of the rest." He glanced at the card. White, minimal, just her name, email, and a tiny logo in the corner. Sutton and Vale. His stomach twisted, that was it. That was why the name sounded familiar. Sutton and Vale wasn't just any company. It was one of the biggest corporate investment firms in California. And Penelope Sutton wasn't just some woman on the beach. She was the CEO. 3 days later, Travis got an email from her assistant offering him $5,000 for the rights to the photo. He stared at the screen for 10 full minutes before calling the number. "I think there's been a mistake," he said. "No mistake," the woman said. Miss Sutton was very clear. "She wants to use it for a personal project. Do you accept the offer?" He could barely speak. Yes, I accept." That money meant rent, food, a real birthday party for Jasper next month. He'd barely processed it when his phone rang again. "Travis," her voice came through, warm and direct. "Hope you got the offer." "I did, thank you. I don't even know what to say." "You don't need to say anything. I just really loved that photo." He paused. "Wouldn't your marketing team have photographers for stuff like that?" Penelope laughed. "They're good. But they don't see what you saw." Something unspoken hung between them. He tried to shake it off. "Well, if you ever want a sunset photo again, I'm your guy." "Careful," she said. "I might take you up on that." 2 weeks later, she did. They met again at the same beach, this time on purpose. Jasper was with Travis's neighbor, a retired kindergarten teacher who adored him. Penelope wore jeans and a green top. Not flashy, not formal, just real. He brought his camera again. He didn't take a single shot. They sat in the sand, watching the sun melt into the ocean. "You always come here?" she asked. "When I need to breathe," he said. "It's cheaper than therapy," she smiled. "Same," he glanced at her. "Why do I feel like you don't breathe much?" She didn't answer right away. "Because you're not wrong." She turned to him then, and for the first time he saw the tired behind her eyes, the weight behind the smile. She wasn't just powerful, she was exhausted. "It's not easy, is it?" he asked gently. She shook her head. People think it's all jets and champagne. But it's really just pressure. Constant pressure, he nodded. Being a parent's not that different, except I get paid in macaroni art. That made her laugh for real. You're funny, I'm poor, I have to be. They looked at each other for a long beat. He felt it then. The pull, the quiet shift. Like maybe she wasn't just being kind, maybe she wasn't just grateful for the photo, maybe there was something else, and damn it, he wanted there to be. Come to dinner with me, she said suddenly. He blinked. Wait, what? Tomorrow night, just you and me, my treat. He stared at her. Are you asking me out? She tilted her head. Is that a problem? No, he said, shocked. It's not. I'm a single dad who barely scraped together gas money last week and you, Penelope leaned in, eyes serious. You're the first person who's seen me in weeks, not the CEO, just me. So yes, I'm asking you out, he swallowed hard. Okay, she smiled. Good, I'll pick you up at 7, and just like that. Travis Palmer, struggling dad, had a date with a woman who could buy the entire restaurant, and maybe, just maybe. Something he thought he'd lost forever was finally starting to come back. Hope. The restaurant wasn't just expensive, it was otherworldly. Nestled atop a cliff with glass walls overlooking the sea, it looked like the kind of place celebrities rented out for engagement parties. Travis had never seen anything like it in real life, let alone been invited to dine there. When Penelope's car pulled up a sleek black coupe with a quiet engine and a driver in a tailored suit, he had to double-check the address she'd given him. She stepped out in a navy jumpsuit that looked effortlessly elegant, her hair pinned up in a way that revealed the delicate line of her neck. Not dramatic, not flashy, just effortless. You ready? She asked, taking him in with a soft look. You clean up well. He glanced down at his blazer borrowed from his neighbor's son-in-law and jeans that, thankfully, didn't have a hole in them. I feel like I should be carrying your purse and saying yes, ma'am, every time you talk, Penelope laughed lightly. Don't. Just be you. Inside, the maitre d' greeted her by name and led them to a table on the edge of the glass. No menus were offered, courses just began appearing. Small plates, artful arrangements, more forks than Travis knew what to do with. He waited until the third dish, some kind of seared scallop over whipped corn, to speak. So do you own this place, or just have a booth named after you? She tilted her head. Neither, but the chef used to work for my family years ago. He likes to keep me around for feedback. You mean like this caviar needs more caviar feedback? Exactly, she said with a grin. He studied her, watching the way she didn't flinch under the weight of the setting. She belonged here, but she didn't act like she needed to prove it. So, she said, folding her napkin across her lap, tell me something about you that I can't Google. You Googled me, Penelope raised an eyebrow. Wouldn't you? Fair, he admitted. Though I'm pretty sure all you found was an old blog and a bad Yelp review from a woman who said I took unflattering wedding pictures. That's the one, she said, amused. Her hair was awful, that wasn't your fault, he chuckled. Okay, something you can't Google. I used to play piano. Before I had Jasper, before everything changed, she leaned in slightly. Why did you stop? No time, no space, and honestly, it hurt too much. Music was tied to a version of my life that doesn't exist anymore. Penelope didn't push, she just nodded, her expression thoughtful. What about you? He asked. Something I wouldn't find in a Forbes profile. She hesitated. I once got rejected from a poetry contest in high school. I cried in the bathroom for 2 hours and swore I'd never write again. Did you? Of course not, she replied. The next year I won it. But it taught me something, how much I cared, how much I hated losing. Still write, sometimes, she admitted, but only when I'm trying to figure myself out. Their eyes locked for a moment longer than necessary. The air between them shifted, no longer just curious but charged. A glass of wine was placed between them. Travis shook his head politely. Not tonight. Penelope didn't ask why. She just poured herself a bit and took a sip. So, he said, trying to ease the heat in his chest, what made you want to buy that photo? I mean, really. She rested her chin on her hand. Because it felt like a moment I'd forgotten how to have, stillness, beauty, not curated, not filtered, just real. And I wanted to remember what that felt like. Travis swallowed, unsure what to say to that. The next course arrived, some kind of lamb with a glaze that looked too perfect to eat. Do you ever miss it? He asked after a quiet beat. Normal life, she didn't answer right away. I miss not being watched, not being expected to know everything. I miss being able to walk into a store in sweatpants without someone assuming I've lost my fortune. He leaned back. I wasn't expecting you to be this honest. I wasn't expecting you to be this easy to talk to, she replied. They finished the meal slowly, course by course, conversation drifting between childhood memories and strange coincidences. She told him about an aunt who used to collect ceramic frogs. He told her about the time Jasper put peanut butter in the DVD player because he thought it was a toaster. By the time dessert came, Travis had forgotten to feel out of place. When they stood to leave, Penelope reached for her bag and pulled something out, a small envelope. I wanted to give you this, she said, offering it. He opened it carefully. Inside was a voucher for a photography exhibit slot at a downtown gallery. His name was already printed on the form. He looked up sharply. How did you? I made a call. They've got a cancellation next month. If you want it, it's yours. His voice caught. Why would you do this? Because you're good, she said simply, and people should see what you see. He stared at the paper. I don't know what to say. Then don't say anything, she said, stepping closer. Just do something with it. Outside, the wind had picked up. She walked him to the car, standing close enough that he could smell the faint citrus of her perfume. I had a good time, she said softly. Me too. They stood there for a beat, the hum of the engine barely audible behind them. Penelope stepped forward and pressed a gentle kiss to his cheek. Not rushed, not uncertain. Good night, Travis. She climbed into the car, the door closing with a quiet click, and then she was gone. He stood there long after the taillights disappeared down the hill, the envelope still in his hand. Something had shifted tonight. Not just an invitation or an opportunity. Something inside him had cracked open, just enough to let the light in. Travis stood in front of the gallery wall, hands clenched inside his jacket pockets, trying not to fidget. His photos, 12 in all, were mounted neatly under soft lighting, each one framed identically, labeled with nothing but a date and location. He hadn't dared to title them. It felt too permanent, too bold. The space buzzed with quiet voices, the occasional clink of a wine glass, and the low hum of jazz weaving through the air. He hadn't expected this many people, and certainly not this much interest. He couldn't stop thinking about how just a few weeks ago, he was rationing peanut butter and debating whether to sell his old lenses. Now he was standing in a downtown gallery, watching strangers tilt their heads at his work like it meant something. Travis! He turned and found Penelope standing behind him, not in a tailored suit or designer coat, but in a deep gray wrap dress that made her look like she'd just stepped out of a fashion editorial. Her eyes flicked to the photo beside him, the one that had started it all. You brought it, she said. I almost thought it was too simple. No, she said, it's the opposite, it's honest. Her eyes didn't leave the image, but he watched her jaw tighten slightly, like something unspoken had just brushed against her. You okay? He asked. She nodded once. Today was heavy. He waited. My board voted down a project I've been building for 6 months, said it was too risky. I spent the whole day defending something I believed in, and it didn't matter. I'm sorry. She turned to face him. You know what they said. That I was too emotionally invested, like that was a flaw. He didn't know what boardrooms were like, but he knew what it meant to care and be dismissed for it. Maybe that's what makes you different, he said. People who don't care enough never build anything worth remembering. That pulled something soft into her expression. She stepped closer. Can I show you something? She asked. He nodded, and she led him through the crowd toward a small side room. Inside, it was quieter. A single photo hung on the wall, printed larger than the others. It wasn't one of his, it was her, the sunset photo. He stared at it, caught off guard. Up close, it was even more arresting. The way the light etched her silhouette, how the breeze captured movement in her hair, how her posture was both solitary and unyielding. It was her, but it wasn't. You framed it, he said. She nodded. It's not just a photo, it's a reminder of that I'm human, that I can be still. That I can be seen without fighting for it. He didn't know what to say. His throat tightened. You captured something no one else ever has, she said. Not even the people who have known me for years. He laughed quietly, trying to ease the weight in the air. That's a lot of pressure for a guy who shoots playground birthday parties on weekends. But she didn't smile. Her gaze stayed on him, steady and clear. You don't have to be rich to matter, she said. You just have to be real. He swallowed hard, her words settling deep. A knock on the doorframe broke the moment. A gallery staffer stuck his head in. Miss Sutton, there's someone from the Chronicle asking for a statement. She nodded once, then looked back at Travis. Wait for me. He didn't hesitate. Of course. She left, and he wandered back toward the main exhibit, finding Jasper's face in one of the shots. It was from a few days before, at a park, sunlight catching his son's curls as he reached for bubbles. A woman beside him turned slightly. Is this yours? Yeah, her eyes didn't leave the photo. There's something in these, like you're not just showing what things look like, but what they feel like. He didn't know how to respond to that. Praise like this always felt like it belonged to someone else. Do you sell prints? She asked. I can. She handed him a card. I'd love to buy this one. It reminds me of my nephew. He tucked it into his pocket, stunned. 2 more people asked about purchases before Penelope returned. You're in demand, she said, watching him with a spark in her eyes. I don't know what's happening, he admitted. I was planning to ask my neighbor for help printing flyers this week. Now people want to buy things. You're building something, she said, and you're doing it your way. They stepped outside for air. The night was cool, the streetlights haloing the sidewalk in soft amber. Penelope walked slowly, arms folded, heels clicking against the stone. I didn't expect tonight to feel like this, she said. Like what? Like I'm not running toward something or away from it, just here, he nodded. I get that. She stopped walking and turned to him. I know this started with a picture, but I don't think that's why I keep coming back. He held her gaze. I don't either. She stepped closer, close enough that her perfume wrapped around him, her voice dropped. I've been alone a long time, Travis, not because I had to be, because I thought no one could see beyond the title. You did, from the beginning. He reached for her hand, curling his fingers around hers. I didn't see a CEO, he said. I saw someone who looked like the sky belonged to her. Her breath caught just barely, then she leaned in. The kiss was quiet, not rushed, not forced, just real. When they pulled back, she rested her forehead against his. I don't know where this is going, she whispered. But I want to find out, he nodded, heart pounding. So do I. And for the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about what he'd lost. He was thinking about everything he might gain. Travis stared at the polished marble floors of the hotel lobby, feeling like he'd stumbled into a movie he wasn't supposed to be in. A doorman had opened the glass doors for him without asking his name, and a concierge had politely offered him sparkling water while someone called upstairs. Now he waited. Penelope had invited him to a charity gala, one of those black tie events he'd only ever seen on television, and he'd almost said no. But Jasper was with Mrs. Hargrove for the night, and Penelope had insisted, not with pressure, but with quiet certainty. You belong beside me, she'd said. When the elevator opened, she stepped out. Her dress was midnight blue, floor-length, with a subtle shimmer that caught the light as she moved. Her hair was swept back, not in a practiced-up doe, but in a soft knot that made her look like herself, just a more luminous version. There was something different in her expression, too, not tired, not guarded. Present. Hi, she said, stopping in front of him. You look like something out of a dream, he said before he could stop himself. Her lips curled into a small smile. And you look like a man who's about to regret wearing real dress shoes. He looked down at the borrowed Oxfords. They feel like bricks. Come on, she said, linking her arm through his. Let's go be uncomfortable together. The ballroom was already humming when they entered. Waiters moved like clockwork, chandeliers sparkled overhead, and a string quartet played something elegant and forgettable. Travis kept a hand near his tie, already itching to loosen it. Penelope leaned in. If anyone asks, you're here as my guest, but if they press, say you're a consultant. For what, Vision, she said, eyes gleaming. That should keep them guessing. They made their way through the room, and Travis watched how people responded to her respectful nods, subtle deference, conversations shifting when she entered. But she never let go of his arm. At their table, a name card had been added beside hers. Mr. Travis Palmer. He stared at it for a moment longer than necessary. During dinner, a man in a pale gray suit leaned over from the next table. Penelope, I've been meaning to ask who's your charming new friend. She didn't hesitate. Travis is a photographer. He has an exhibit downtown that's gotten quite a bit of attention. The man's eyebrows lifted. Ah, an artist. Interesting choice. Travis met his gaze. I could say the same about your tie. Penelope let out a surprised laugh, and the man blinked, clearly unsure if it was a joke or an insult. He moved on quickly. Later, as speeches began, Penelope turned to him. You handled that well. I grew up in a family of 6. You learned to hold your own at the dinner table. She studied him for a moment, then reached under the table and took his hand. Her grip was warm, steady. After the final toast, she pulled him away from the crowd and led him through a side hallway, up a narrow staircase, and onto a rooftop terrace overlooking the city. The air was cooler up here, quieter. Travis leaned against the railing, staring at the skyline. This view doesn't seem real. Penelope stood beside him. I come up here when I need to remember what I'm chasing. Do you ever wonder if it's worth it? She was silent for a moment. I used to think success would feel like standing on top of the world. But lately, it just feels like a long walk in heels. He turned toward her. Then why keep walking? Because I thought it was the only way to be seen. She looked at him then, and he saw it something unguarded, something real. But now, she said, I think I was wrong. Travis stepped closer. You were never invisible. You were just surrounded by people too blind to look. Her breath hitched. You say things like that and make it very hard to pretend this is casual. I don't want casual, he said. Not with you. She reached into her clutch and pulled out a folded envelope. Before I left the office today, I signed something. He took it, frowning. Inside was a printed letter on Sutton and Vale letterhead, a resignation of her seat on the board. He looked up, stunned. What is this? My future, she said. I've been building other people's visions for years. It's time I build my own, he stared at her. You're walking away from all of it. I'm not walking away, she said. I'm stepping towards something else. She reached out, brushing his jaw with her fingertips. You reminded me I'm allowed to want joy. To be seen for more than what I run. He held her hand against his cheek. What are you going to do? I've started a foundation, she said. Small, focused, funding artistic programs for underserved youth. I want to help people like you, like Jasper. People who just need a window opened. Travis felt something shift in his chest, something deep and warm. Why tell me now? Because I couldn't make any of those choices without knowing if you'd be beside me. He stepped forward, closing the inch between them. You're not the only one who's been waiting to feel seen. Their lips met again, less tentative this time, a promise. A vow. When they finally pulled apart, he wrapped his arms around her, holding her close as the city sparkled beneath them. I have something for you too, he said after a minute. He pulled a small velvet box from his coat pocket and opened it. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a tiny charm shaped like a camera lens. I sold my old backup gear to buy it, he said. I know it's not diamonds, but she pressed her fingers to his lips, eyes shining. It's perfect. He fastened it around her neck and she turned so he could see it against her skin. It's a reminder, he said, of where we started, of what we built. She looked up at him. I'm not letting go of this. Neither am I. Months later, their lives looked different. Travis had a full calendar of exhibits booked around the state. His name was beginning to carry weight in circles he'd never imagined entering. Jasper had a new school, one with a music program that made his eyes light up every morning. And Penelope. She was exactly where she wanted to be, not behind a glass desk, but on the ground, building something meaningful. She'd traded boardrooms for community centers, stock portfolios for scholarships, but the most important thing, they were building it all together. And for the first time in either of their lives, the future didn't feel like a climb. It felt like home. The old warehouse had been nothing more than a hollow shell when Travis first saw it: peeling paint, broken skylights, a rusted sign that once read Gibson Textiles. Now, months later, it was a different world. Natural light spilled through the newly restored glass ceiling, bouncing off whitewashed brick walls that now held rotating exhibitions from emerging photographers across the city. Travis stood near the entrance, watching a young girl examine one of the framed prints with wide eyes. Her fingers hovered just inches from the glass, reverent. She's been staring at that photo for 15 minutes, Penelope said, stepping beside him. I think you've got a fan. She's not the only one, he said without looking away. Every time I think this place can't feel more surreal, someone walks in and proves me wrong. Penelope tilted her head, surveying the gallery. You know, when I pictured what we'd do with this space, I thought it would take years to get here. I didn't expect it to feel like this so soon. You mean successful? I mean alive, she said. It's not just a gallery, it's a place people come to feel something. That was always the point. Travis turned toward her. You made it possible? No, she said, her voice soft. We did. He reached for her hand and laced his fingers through hers as a small group of students entered, led by a teacher holding a clipboard. Jasper trailed behind them, his backpack bouncing, a grin stretched across his face when he spotted his dad. Dad, miss. Avery said we get to pick our favorite photo and write a story about it. That right? Travis asked, crouching down. Yeah, and I already picked mine. It's the one with the lights on the lake. It looks like magic. That one's called Reflection. I took it the night you fell asleep in the car on the way home from Big Bear. Jasper's eyes widened. That was real, all of it, Travis said, brushing a curl out of his son's face. Maybe you'll take the next one. Jasper leaned in, whispered something, and darted off with the group. Penelope watched him go, a fond smile tugging at her lips. He's grown so much, she said. He likes school now, he's got friends, he's even learning piano. Penelope looked at him, surprised. Really? He said he wants to be able to play something for you. Her expression softened. I can't wait. The gallery quieted again as the group moved into the next room. Travis leaned against the wall beside her, taking in the space they'd built together. The foundations of their new life weren't loud or flashy, they were steady, growing stronger every day. And it wasn't just about art or ambition anymore, it was about roots. Remember when I told you I used to think I'd never go back to photography? He asked. She nodded. I'm glad I was wrong. Penelope reached into her bag and pulled out a small wrapped box, square and carefully tied with a navy ribbon. What's this? Just open it. He untied it slowly, lifting the lid to reveal a matte black business card holder. Inside were crisp new cards with embossed silver lettering. Travis Palmer, Director, Sutton Palmer Creative Arts Foundation. He stared at it, speechless. I filed the paperwork last week, she said quietly. We've got the gallery, the scholarship fund, and next year we'll start the mentorship program. It needed a name. Yours belongs on it. He ran his thumb over the card, heart thudding. You didn't have to do this. I know, she said, but I wanted to. Because I was never just investing in the gallery. I was investing in you, in us. He looked up at her, then really looked and saw everything she'd poured into their life, the risks she'd taken, the walls she'd let down, the way she'd chosen love over legacy. You changed everything, he said. No, she replied. We changed each other. That night, after Jasper had gone to sleep and the gallery lights had dimmed, Travis and Penelope stood in the center of the space, surrounded by the quiet echoes of stories captured on walls. I've been thinking, he said, pulling a small envelope from his jacket. You gave me something today. I wanted to give you something too. She opened it slowly. Inside was a printed photo, one she'd never seen before. It was the two of them, taken by Jasper with a disposable camera during a picnic weeks earlier. They were laughing, heads tilted toward each other, unaware of the lens. It wasn't posed. It wasn't perfect. It was real. I thought maybe it could be the first photo we hang at home. She looked up at him, eyes wet. You mean, our home, he nodded. Penelope stepped forward, voice thick. Are you asking me to move in with you? I'm asking you to make a life with me, with us. Not just here in the gallery or on rooftops or behind closed doors. I want it all, mornings and traffic and grocery runs. I want the everyday with you. A tear slipped down her cheek and she didn't bother brushing it away. Yes, she whispered. Yes to all of it. He kissed her, then not tentative, not careful, but with the certainty of a man who finally knew where he belonged. They moved in together the following month, into a sunlit loft just down the street from the gallery. The walls filled slowly with new photos, some his, some Jasper's, and one or two from Penelope's old high school portfolio. Every corner of the space held a piece of their journey. Jasper adjusted quickly. He called the loft our castle, and took to calling Penelope Pen when he was in a particularly good mood. She never corrected him. On a rainy Saturday morning, Travis found her curled on the couch, a blanket over her legs, a sketchpad in her lap. "Drawing?" he asked, setting down coffee. "Planning," she said. "I want to start a summer camp for kids interested in the arts, somewhere green, somewhere they can breathe." He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "Let's do it." They did, together. Years later, people would ask how it all started, the gallery, the foundation, the family, and Travis would always answer the same way. "It started with a photo I wasn't supposed to take, and a woman who looked like the sunset belonged to her." And every time, Penelope would take his hand and say, "He saw me before anyone else ever did." And that was enough to last a lifetime.